Let's glaze some wavy bowls. Hi, Marie here from Pottery Crafters. In my last video, I showed you how to make wavy bowls on the pottery wheel. Well, in this video, I'm going to show you 5 different ways you can glaze them and give you some fun glazing ideas. Follow along as I go over each one for you. So if you like a bowl, you can just refer back to the bowl or bowls you like and follow the steps. All the supplies used in this video are listed for you in the show notes below. Before I get started, I'll quickly go over a few things you need to do, so I don't need to go over them every time I glaze a new bowl. Make sure the glaze is mixed well. I like using this Hamilton Beach blender. It works great and gets to the bottom of the Amico jars, which is a big plus. I always put my glaze through a strainer, not because I want to, because I have to. If I don't, I'll end up with a clump of glaze or debris on my brush. You know, Murphy's Law. Make sure to tap the strainer to get the rest of the glaze off. I try not to waste the glaze. Always make sure your hands are clean and dry. Or wear gloves. The natural oils from your hands can cause the glaze to lift, crawl, or create bare spots on your pottery. Wash the bowls with a clean, damp sponge to ensure the glaze bonds nicely to the bowls. Apply wax resist to the bottom of the bowls. I'm using film resist, which is similar to wax resist. Instead of just leaving the wax resist on, wiping any glaze off, and firing in the kiln, I simply peel the film resist off before firing in the kiln. Now I can start glazing. I'll begin glazing the large wavy bowl with Amico Honey Flux for the base. Apply the first coat on the inside horizontally with a soft fan brush. I like using these A-Magic fan brushes. I do pour my glazes when I can to save time, but I can't with these wavy bowls because they make it too difficult for me to pour in and around the grooves of the bowl. Let this bowl dry before applying another coat. For the second coat, I'm applying the Honey Flux vertically. It's best to change the direction of your brush strokes with each coat. This technique helps to get rid of any streak marks on the pottery. You want to apply the glaze as evenly as possible. Let this dry before applying another coat. The third coat will be applied horizontally. I found glazing the inside first is better than applying each coat to the whole bowl. This way I'm not flipping the bowl around after each coat and handling the glazed areas a lot less. Let this dry and apply one more coat. This coat will be applied vertically. I'm applying a fourth coat because the consistency of the Honey Flux glaze is on the thin side. If I want the glaze to flow even more, I would apply 2 more coats. Let this dry before I flip it over and glaze the other side. I'll start out glazing horizontally. The yellow on the outside of the bowl was from the water I used when I washed the bowl with the sponge. This happens occasionally, but has never affected the outcome of my pieces. The bisqueware sure does soak up the glaze with the first coat. Let this dry. Now apply a second coat vertically. It is fun making these wavy bowls. I love the throwing lines the clay made on the wheel. If you didn't see the video on how to make these bowls, I left the link below for you in the show notes. Let this dry before I apply a third coat. I'm applying this coat horizontally. I'll only be applying 3 coats to the outside of this bowl because I don't want the glaze to flow as much on the outside. Let it dry completely before adding another glaze. Now I'm going to dip the bowl in Amico textured turquoise. I love this glaze so much I buy it by the gallon. Pour the glaze into a shallow bowl carefully dipped the rim about 1/4 of the way down. It was hard for me to find a container large enough to fit the bowl's rim and small enough to hold enough glaze for dipping. After the glaze dries, fire in the kiln to cone 5 with a 15-minute hold. With the magic of video, let's see how it turned out. I love it. The rich color of the honey flux has a nice, smooth, glossy finish. This glaze is a good base that enhances the textured turquoise layered over it and helps it to flow. I love how the textured turquoise glaze cascades down the sides of the bowl. The inside of the bowl is beautiful. I love the streaks and patterns that the waves created in this bowl. It resembles water flowing down a slope. The interplay between the honey and turquoise colors creates a beautiful cascading look. The thickness of the turquoise application resulted in these varying colors. The overall effect is reminiscent of blending watercolors on canvas, giving this bowl a beautiful flowing finish. Let's check out the next wavy bowl. I'm going to bubble glaze this bowl with Spectrum Lime Green Underglaze. Mix the water, soap, and underglaze together. I use a square plastic container, so the mixture and the straw stays in the corner of the container. Blow into the container until the bubbles start to fall over the bowl. I use a long straw to see around the bubbles better, and you have less chance of getting bubbles in your face. Wrapping a rag around the container helps lessen the dripping. It will not stop all of the dripping, but it sure does help a lot and makes a difference in your pattern. Let the bubbles dry. Flip it over and blow bubbles around the outside, including the bottom. For more detailed instructions on bubble glazing, I have a step-by-step guide with a video on my Pottery Crafters website. I left the link for you below in the show notes. Now that I've finished applying the bubbles, I'll apply clear glaze to vitrify the bowl and give it a nice shine. I'm using Speedball clear glaze. The underglaze must be totally dry. When brushing, be careful not to smudge the bubbles. Some potters will even bisque their pieces again and apply a clear glaze to guarantee the underglaze won't smudge. Let it dry. Apply a second coat to the inside. When applying clear glaze, make sure you don't apply it too thick. If the clear glaze is applied too thick, it will have a milky look and your colors won't be as vibrant. Let the glaze dry. Flip it over and glaze the other side. Nice smooth strokes. Make sure not to apply too much pressure with the fan brush. Let this dry. Now apply a second coat. In general, underglaze will not stick to the kiln shelf unless you apply it too thick. And the underglaze contains frit, which is a small amount of silica and flux. Let this dry and I'll fire it in the kiln to cone 5 with a 15-minute hold. Let's see how it turned out. I like how the wavy bowl turned out. The bubble glazing effect does create a distinctive appearance with the bubble patterns across the surface. The clear glaze gives the bowl a glossy finish, enhancing the vibrant green color, and makes the bowl food safe and more durable. I did blow more bubbles on the inside than on the outside. Something to be aware of the next time I bubble glaze. It is a visually appealing piece. I really like the way the bubbles turned out on the bottom of the bowl. It looks really cool. If you'd like me to make a video on multiple colors, let me know in the comments section below. Let's check out the next bowl. For this bowl, I'll start with Amico Purple Crystal. The first coat will be applied horizontally. The thickness of the glaze is something to be aware of. This glaze is on the thin side, so I'll be applying 4 coats. Let this dry and apply another coat. This coat will be applied vertically. This glaze goes on nice and smooth, especially after the first coat. It does have a satin finish when applied on its own. Let this dry. I'll apply the third coat horizontally to avoid any streaking. A uniform application helps to ensure an even finish. Let this dry. Apply a 4th coat vertically. To help keep track of the directions I brush and the number of coats I apply, I mark them on a notepad right behind me. I think I'll remember, but I don't. And I get distracted easily. Set this aside and let it dry. Flip it over and glaze the outside of the bowl. I'll start glazing horizontally. I found these plastic plates work great for glazing. I can remove the bowl from the banding wheel, set the bowl to the side, and work on another piece. Plus, I'm not handling the bowl as much. Let this dry. Apply a 2nd coat, this time vertically. This is a stable glaze, so it will not be moving unless I cover it with a flowing glaze, which is what I'm going to do. Let this dry. I'll apply 1 more coat horizontally. I only need 3 coats on the outside of this bowl because I don't want the glaze to float too much when I apply the next glaze. Set this aside and let it dry. Now I'll apply Amico Flux Blossom. I'll glaze the first coat on the inside horizontally. This Flux Blossom glaze by itself produces a delicate pink hue and has a soft, shimmery look. This will give the bowl a shiny finish. Let this dry. I'll apply the 2nd coat of Flux Blossom vertically. It does make it easier to glaze with a banding wheel. I use this larger banding wheel and my Nidec banding wheel. The Nidec is my favorite. Set this aside and let it dry. Flip it upside down and glaze the outside. I'll brush this coat on horizontally. When applying glaze like this, it's important to know how much glaze to apply, especially on the outside of the bowl with flowing glazes. You don't want it to be too thick. Let it dry. I'll apply the 2nd coat vertically. I want to create some movement, but not too much. This bowl now has 6 coats on the inside and 5 coats on the outside. Let this dry and fire it in the kiln at cone 5 with a 15-minute hold. Let's see how it turned out. It's beautiful. The bowl's unique shape, with its wavy edges, adds an artistic touch to this glaze combination. 5 coats did the trick on the outside. Now keep in mind the consistency of the purple crystal and the Flux Blossom were on the thinner side. The Flux Blossom created soft, swirly blue tones that blended seamlessly with the crystal glaze. The 6 coats on the inside did make the glaze move more, which is exactly what I wanted. The interior of the bowl showcases a stunning interplay of colors with a glossy finish. These glazes created a deep, rich blue around the edges, which gradually transitioned into lighter shades towards the center, where you can see the orange hue from the Flux glaze. You can hit the like button anytime during this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the bell icon to get notified when a new video comes out. Let's check out the next wavy bowls. I'm going to decorate 2 bowls using the splatter effect. I'll start with Spectrum Black Underglaze. Dip the brush in the thinned out underglaze. Test out the splatter to make sure the underglaze is not too thick or too thin. Hold the brush about 6 to 9 inches away and flick the brush. What you're trying to do is let the brush spring back to release the underglaze. You can switch the direction of the brush depending on the pattern that you want to create. Now splatter the other bowl. Because the bowls are a set, I want this splatter pattern to be similar on both of the bowls. Flip the bowls over and splatter the outside of the bowls. Because the underglaze is thinned out, I can splatter the bottom of the bowls, just like I did with the bubble glaze bowl. You can splatter as much or as little as you like. Splatter the large bowl similar to the smaller one. You want a brush that's going to hold a good amount of underglaze for a nice splatter effect. That looks good. Then splatter with a Spectrum Fire Engine Red. It's important to test the consistency of the underglaze before you splatter. You don't want it too thick where it doesn't splatter and just clumps, or too thin and it runs. This gives the bowls a cool abstract look. I'm splattering a little more red underglaze than black. Flip them over and splatter the outside. Just a flick of the wrist. I do have a more detailed video on the splatter technique, including the ratio of water and underglaze needed for this effect. I left the link below in the show notes. That looks good. I'll set these aside and let them dry. Now apply Speedball Clear Glaze. Use very little pressure when brushing to avoid smearing the underglaze. This A-Magic fan brush does work really well. I've had this set for over 6 years and the bristles are still good. Let the first coat of clear glaze dry. The second coat goes on much smoother. Make sure the coat is even and not too thick. I like how the clear glaze is pink, so you know where you've glazed. Let it dry. Flip the bowl over and apply the clear glaze on the outside of the bowl. Be careful not to smear the underglaze. Let it dry and apply a second coat. I glazed the smaller bowl the same way. After the glaze has dried completely on both of the bowls, I place them in the kiln and fire to cone 5 with a 15-minute hold. Let's see how they turned out. These bowls are star-shaped, creating a cool look. I like the bold splashes of red and black underglaze, which created a cool abstract pattern. The red and black splatters vary in size and intensity, giving each bowl a unique and artistic appearance. I love decorating the bottoms of my pottery whenever I can. Many potters do add something to the bottom, these grooves or some color. The contrasting colors and the randomness of the splatter technique add a modern, expressive touch to the bowls, making them striking pieces of decorative or functional use. I love how they fit together. Let's check out the next wavy bowl. I'm going to have some fun with this bowl, starting with Amico Honey Flux. For the first coat, I'm applying it horizontally. The first coat always absorbs into the bisqueware and dries quicker, making it more challenging to get the glaze to flow off the brush. Let this dry. Apply the second coat vertically. Even though the bottle glazes are more stable, mixing your glaze often is still a good habit to get into and ensures a nice even consistency in the glaze. Let this dry. Apply a third coat horizontally. It is better to glaze these wavy bowls with a brush, so I can get the glaze in and out of the grooves better. If your glaze is thicker, you will only need to apply 3 coats on the inside and 2 on the outside. Let this dry. I'm applying a 4th coat of the Honey Flux vertically. Just like the plastic plates I use, I found these larger plastic covers also come in handy for glazing. It does save time taking the bowl off the banding wheel while it's wet and working on another piece. Plus, I'm touching the bowls a lot less, which is always a plus. Let this dry, flip it over, and apply a coat of honey flux horizontally on the outside. I can use it both as a base coat or over other glazes. The result will vary depending on the application, the technique, and the underlining clay body. Let this dry. Apply a second coat vertically. It's best to use the soft bristled brushes. You'll want the glaze to flow off the brush onto the bowl, which can be tricky when you're glazing the grooves of these bowls. Let this dry. Now that the second coat is dry, I'll apply a third coat horizontally. I've used this honey flux a lot since it came out. It's mainly white, but has a nice shimmery orange hue that interacts nicely with other glazes. Set this aside and let dry. Once the glaze is completely dry, I'm going to dip the rim in textured turquoise, about a third of the way down. Hold the bowl upside down for a few minutes to allow the extra glaze to drip off the rim. Once the glaze is dry, I'm going to apply just one coat of Amico Cirrus Flow. This glaze has a smooth, glossy finish with a light blue color. It can produce a range of hues depending on the application. Let it dry, flip it over, and apply one coat of Cirrus Flow to the outside. A nice even coat. I have a video on other flux glaze combinations that I think you'll like. I left the link below in the show notes. Let this dry. Now I'm going to apply one more glaze to the rim only. Spectrum Pearl White. I'm just going to pour a little glaze on this cover and only dip the top of the rim in the glaze. I have to be careful with this glaze because it loves to run, even more than the flux glazes do. Let it dry and fire in the kiln to cone 5 with a 15-minute hold. Let's see how it turned out. Well, I'm loving this. The honey flux, textured turquoise, and Cirrus Flow mingled nicely with the pearl white. The wavy edges of the bowl added a sense of movement and elegance to its overall appearance. The interior of the bowl showcases the stunning combination of all these glazes. The honey flux glaze created a subtle warm undertone of orange that complements the other shades. The textured turquoise adds a rich, vibrant blue-green hue, creating a striking contrast. The Cirrus Flow glaze appears delicate with flowing streaks. The pearl white glaze gives a soft finish, helping to flow all of the colors down the bowl. The bowl's design and glazes work together harmoniously, creating a visually captivating piece of art. There you have it, 6 wavy bowls glazed 5 different ways. I love them all, but my favorite one is the last wavy bowl. I just love how all the glazes blended and flowed together. My next favorite is this large bowl. I think it's so elegant, and I love the way the textured turquoise flowed down in between these grooves. And I love this abstract look. You can splatter only one color or as many as you like. This bubble glaze bowl is also pretty cool. I love the pattern it creates. Once you get the soap, water, and underglaze ratio down, it's pretty fun and easy to create. Last but not least is this purple crystal and flux blossom bowl. I just love the way the glazes melt together. Which one or ones are you going to try? Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to get notified whenever a new video comes out. For more pottery information, you can also check out my website. Simply go to potterycrafters.com. You watching helps me to make more videos like this one. Now head on over to my 21 tips for brush glazing video and my how to sponge and splatter with underglaze video. If you do, I get to play with more clay. Let's stay dirty.